You're not poor because you lack money. You're poor because you were trained to think like a man who never has any. That training runs deep in your language, your habits, your fear. From the moment you could walk, you were handed a script. Be humble. Don't ask for too much. Just get a job. Play it safe. Celebrate stability. Avoid risk. And if someone rises too far, make sure to remind them they forgot where they came from. That script wasn't built to make you rich. It was built to make you obedient. You look at your paycheck and think it defines your status. But there are men out there earning six figures who still think like peasants, afraid to invest, afraid to lead, afraid to leave a job they hate because the benefits are decent. They dress sharp, talk big, post quotes, but their mind is still chained to survival mode, still playing not to lose, still asking for permission, and that mindset is the real poverty, not the balance in the bank, the fear in the brain. Because poverty isn't about numbers, it's about identity. If you call yourself broke, think like a follower, reject discomfort, and wait for someone to rescue you, congratulations, you're poor. And the saddest part? Most men will die that way, even if they made some money along the way, because their mind never changed. Their operating system stayed the same, the code of fear, the gospel of mediocrity, the religion of just enough. If you're still here, keep watching, because this isn't a motivational speech, it's a demolition. And if you're ready to destroy the poor identity they installed in you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your real wealth starts with your next thought. You don't need to live in a slum to think poor. Poverty is a pattern, and most men are stuck in it without even realizing. They don't budget, not because they're reckless, but because deep down they believe money will never be enough. They don't invest, not because they're stupid, but because they were taught that risking money is worse than staying broke forever. They live paycheck to paycheck not because they have to, but because mentally they expect to start over every month. That's not financial mismanagement. That's identity programming. Look at how a poor mindset speaks. I can't afford that. That's too risky. Money doesn't buy happiness. I'm not lucky like them. Look at how it acts. Spends on pleasure, fears long-term strategy, avoids confrontation, seeks approval, and bows to authority. These aren't random behaviors. They're inherited survival tactics from people who never escaped the mental cage. And now you wear them like values, when in reality, they're chains. A man with a rich mindset doesn't just earn more, he thinks differently. He asks better questions. He doesn't say, I can't afford it. He asks, how do I make it possible? He doesn't hoard money, he multiplies it. He doesn't fear investing, he fears staying stagnant. He doesn't worship security, he builds leverage. That's the difference. Not the car, not the suit, the framework. And until you change yours, you'll keep repeating the cycle. Earn, spend, fear, repeat. You want to stop being poor? Then stop living like it's your destiny. Start thinking like it's your enemy. Because the mindset that keeps you broke is the same one that keeps you safe. And safe is just another word for stuck. You think because you have a stable job, you've escaped poverty? Think again. Most men don't realize they're still mentally broke. They just wear a better uniform. The modern slave doesn't wear chains. He wears a badge. He clocks in. He obeys quietly. He survives on comfort and dies in routine. He calls it a career, but it's just managed fear. That's not freedom. That's modern poverty dressed up as responsibility. You show up on time. You do what you're told. You collect your paycheck, but you're still poor. Not because you lack income, but because you've sold your autonomy. You trade your hours for security. Your ambition for approval. Your vision for structure. You let someone else decide how much your time is worth, how far you can go, when you can rest, and what kind of future you're allowed to imagine. That's not a job. That's a mental cage. The employee mindset says, don't rock the boat. Just be grateful. Climb the ladder. But the ladder is inside a building you don't own. And no matter how high you climb, the ceiling still belongs to someone else. The rich don't climb, they build. They don't clock in, they create. They don't wait for raises, they raise the stakes. You can have a job and still think rich. But most don't. Most defend the system that traps them. They're loyal to a structure that rewards obedience, not greatness. And they wonder why nothing changes. It doesn't change because they won't. Because they fear the risk, the leap, the responsibility. But here's the truth. If you can't think beyond employment, you'll never own your life. You'll just rent it, paycheck to paycheck, until you're too tired to fight back. You were taught to fear money, not because money is dangerous, but because the people who raised you never learned to control it. So they blamed it. They called it evil, corrupt, the root of all problems. And now you carry that poison in your mind. You say you want wealth, but deep down you see money as something dirty, something that changes people, something that breaks families. So even when you earn it, you push it away. That's not bad luck, that's internal sabotage. Poor mindsets demonize the tool they desperately need. They fear wealth, but worship struggle. They believe suffering makes you noble, that being broke is a badge of honor, that wanting more is selfish. So they settle, they give, they shrink, and then they resent the men who didn't. But here's the truth. Money doesn't change you. It reveals you. It gives you options. It magnifies what's already inside. If you're weak, it exposes the cracks. If you're strong, it builds empires. If you're lost, it gets wasted. If you're clear, it becomes your sharpest weapon. You don't need to fall in love with money, but you need to stop fearing it. You need to stop seeing it as a symbol of betrayal and start seeing it as a key to time, to impact, to movement, to protection. A man who fears money will never control it, and a man who can't control it stays broke, no matter what he earns. You want wealth? Then purge the guilt, burn the lies, rewire the code. Because if you think money is the problem, it's not. Your relationship with it is. And until that changes, you'll keep running in circles. Rich in excuses, poor in power. You weren't born poor. You were born into someone else's blueprint. The way they talked, the way they spent, the way they feared, all of it was passed down to you like truth. But it wasn't truth. It was trauma. It was survival. It was limitation dressed as culture. And now you repeat it without thinking. You speak like them. You budget like them. You dream like them. Small, safe, scared. You think that's loyalty, but it's not. It's surrender. The poor mindset survives by calling sacrifice a virtue. It glorifies endurance over evolution. It rewards you for staying where you are, not for rising. And if you dare to outgrow it, it shames you. You think you're better now? You forgot where you came from? No. You remember exactly where you came from. That's why you refuse to stay. That's why you grind when they sleep. That's why you study what they ignore. Because you saw what a poor mindset builds, and it's not enough. You can love your family and still reject their mindset. You can honor your roots and still burn the script. Loyalty doesn't mean repeating the same cycle. Loyalty means leading. It means breaking the pattern so your children don't have to survive what you did. But that takes guts. It takes silence. It takes being misunderstood by the very people you want to help. That's the real test. That's the real wealth. Freedom from the script. So here's the truth. The identity you wear was inherited. The mindset you live inside was taught. But who you become, that's on you. And you don't change it by wishing. You change it by killing the old story and replacing it with one you chose. One built on clarity, risk, and vision. That's how you stop being poor. Not when your bank changes, but when your identity does. The most dangerous sentence a man can say is, "That's just who I am." Because in that moment, you stop evolving. You stop growing. You chain yourself to a version of you that was built by fear, raised by limits, and shaped by survival. That's not identity. That's a prison. And the truth is, most men don't stay poor because of money. They stay poor because they defend the mindset that's destroying them. They protect it. They personalize it. They build a life around it. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But wealth isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you were before they trained you to play small, before they taught you to bow, to beg, to settle. You weren't born afraid of money. You were born powerful, curious, bold. Then the world told you to shut up, sit down, be realistic, and you listened. But now, you know better. So here's your final truth. Poverty is not your condition. It's your operating system. And systems can be rewritten. You don't need more motivation, you need deletion. You need to uninstall the old code, the fear of risk, the love for comfort, the obsession with approval. Burn it, replace it, own the new code. One built on execution, clarity, and control. Because the man who rewires his mind stops being poor long before he makes a dime. He becomes rich in discipline, rich in vision, rich in power, and eventually, the money follows. If you're ready to kill the broke identity and build the one you were meant to lead with, subscribe now. Drop a comment and say it out loud. I'm done thinking poor. I choose the mindset of power.